Hi, everybody. Welcome to Inside the Headset with Coach Ralph. I'm Wes Anderson, the Community Relations Director at Southern Hancock. I'm also Coach Ralph's Special Teams Coordinator and Wide Receiver Coach. Coach Ralph is over here. Coach, we're really excited about this project. Kind of be able to give folks a little bit of kind of an insight to how things go on the sideline and kind of in your mind and our collective mind during a game on Friday night.
Yeah, this will be exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
So we're going to kind of hopefully do a series of these and go through some of the bigger games that we've had in your 7 years here and kind of get some additional insight, some additional thoughts. It could be anything from scheme to some of the decisions to tendencies or things we see or some of the things that the average football fan may not notice. So hopeful that everybody's going to be able to get something kind of neat and unique out of this. So today we're going to watch the 2019 Center Grove game from this most recent season down at their place. Big win for us. Before we start watching the game, talk to me a little bit about the week of practice we had, how you felt on game day, and kind of how confident you felt as we kicked that game off.
Yeah, when we signed the contract a couple of years before we started playing them, so we played them in 18 at home, and then we played them at 19 down at their place. We had come off a couple of really good seasons. They had come off a couple of really good seasons. I think both of us had won a state championship and been a runner-up in the recent years. And they were struggling to find a game. We were struggling to find a game. And really, as a 4A school in enrollment, you don't see 4A public schools take on schools from the MIC ever, really. It just doesn't happen very often. So, it was a huge challenge for our program. And, when I talked to Al Cooper, the athletic director, and I sat down when Center Grove called us, I told him when I got the job that we would never back down from a challenge, regardless of where the state of the program was. And I think the state of our program was pretty good at that point. And, it was something that I was really excited about. It was a great challenge for, the kids in the program. Obviously, myself as a head coach, it's a tremendous challenge to take on a program like Coach Moore's got down there. So, having beaten them at home in 18 and both teams bringing back a lot of talent. Obviously now, we know we were the 2019 5A state champions. They were the 2019 6A state runner-up. So you're talking about two really high caliber teams. In week 2, you don't know that, but now that it's all been done with, you realize how good both of these squads actually were. It's a little bit nerve-wracking. I'd never been down there and seen a game played. I'd always heard the environment was just absolutely unbelievable, and the fans and stuff were a school that's over double our size, that craves football like their fans do. You kind of figured they were going to bring at least twice what we had, which is really about what happened, and we brought a lot of people. So it was a great environment to play in, and a little nervous about that as far as how the kids would respond to playing in a tough place like that. It's a really big, nice stadium, and it ended up being their junior high youth night, so there were even more people there than we probably had thought. So it was extremely loud. Anytime you play a great football team that's so well coached like that, there's obviously a lot of things that you've got to worry about going into a game. I think one thing that probably helped me preparation-wise and our staff and our kids is they play Warren Central week 1. So that was the film that we got. So they're playing a really good, really high-quality opponent that they've got to put a tremendous effort forth to be able to compete with. And that's great to have on film when they're going against one of their conference rivalry schools in a week 1 game like that. So, I remember when I first turned the film on, it was kind of like, oh boy, these guys are once again as advertised here. But going into the game, I thought we had a lot of positives in our direction, and one of which was the quality of opponent they had to play week 1. I think certainly helped us out in the fact that you get to see them play against another really good, high state caliber level MIC opponent.
Well, let's jump in here. I'm gonna share my screen real quick, and um, we're gonna actually watch the game here. So this is for our fans that don't know. This is a program that we use. It's called Huddle, and we're basically just going to watch every play, and all the downtime between all the plays is cut out of here, which is going to be really great, and it's going to be really efficient. So we'll start with the opening kickoff here. We're going to start on offense. Most folks probably know, even if you're only a casual football fan, we basically run the same kick return every single time, to try to run right down the middle, and actually had a pretty good one set up here. We'll fall off a block right here, and if that's Max and Hook, that would not be his block, but if he can pick that up, we might have a lane right there. So a little disappointed. I felt like we had a bunch of those this year where we were about a block or a block and a half away from busting a really good one. So we're going to start at the 20 here, and before I run this first play, can you give me a little bit of your evaluation of their defense, and particularly of their personnel and the challenges that come from that?
Yeah, they're really, really well coached on defense. They have been for a long time. Obviously, you don't have the success that they have without great defense, and that's really been one of the hallmarks of Center Grove since before I got here under Coach Moore. Is they run the wing T on offense, and they play absolutely exceptional defense. So, one thing about them, you don't get a lot of variation. They're going to do what they do, and they're going to do it exceptionally well. Not too much surprise on the very first play of the game. We ended up getting something that they don't do very often, which is kind of what we have to deal with. But yeah, I mean, defensively, they pretty much play a 4-2 cover 4 most of the time. And
I go to the next play. I'll go to the next play real quick. You get a better look at what this is kind of their base structure here.
So this is kind of what we're looking at the majority of the time. And the guy that's on the outside, obviously when you say a 4-2 cover 4, that's only 10 people. And then what we tell our kids is they play their rover to the field, which is the guy that he's circling right now, or to the formation. So that makes your 11th player. But, they do it so well that they don't vary from it often, which I think is a hallmark, again, of great defenses, is that they're going to put pressure on you from their base package, and they're going to, play really sound, really good gap control football. Personnel-wise, Center Grove was a massive problem for us this year. You can tell on just this freeze frame right now by itself that their front 4 guys on the defensive line are really large individuals, and they also were really talented individuals. 2 of them are national Power 5 recruits. One of them is only a sophomore, and then the other one was a junior. The other 2 are both college-level football players. I'm not sure what they ended up doing, but both were seniors as well. They had a Division I linebacker also.
That's him, the rover right there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. But they had a Division I linebacker as well. It might have been inside. So that's a problem. Yeah, they've got 3 Division I players on defense, 2 of which are national level Power 5 guys, and we're breaking in right now. Still 2 new offensive linemen at the 2 guard positions, and our center's playing his second game ever at center. So that was a little bit uncomforting going into the game, with your 3 interior offensive linemen, for us having to now handle what really is one of the best, if not the best, defensive lines in the state of Indiana. So that was a mismatch, I think, in my opinion, obviously in their favor. We wanted to try to negate that. We knew that running the ball was going to be difficult at times, especially early on when their guys were really fresh. We felt like our conditioning level is something that would help us a lot as the game wore on. We just kind of had to stick into it. We felt like we could actually wear them down a little bit with their size, just with our conditioning some. As the game wore on, they rotate a lot and stuff. So We kind of felt like up front it would be a little bit of a war of attrition. When they were really fresh, we were going to definitely struggle handling them, which is what's going to happen here early in the game. We felt like passing-wise, we had some stuff that we could take advantage of, and so we were going to need to move the chains in the air, which normally isn't what we're about, especially obviously
Mhm.
with Charlie, with Mr. Football standing in the backfield there for us. So, but everybody wanted to stop him, and what you're going to see on the first play is them doing something that a couple of teams have done to us. This is essentially the identical package that Michigan City used against us in 2018. They pretty much play a 6-1 front and play cover zero. So we come out on the first play of the game with a little bit of a change up that we felt like would be great against their 4-2 package here. And this is our ISO play, and we miss a block at right tackle. But against that 6-1, we hadn't practiced it all week. It's not something they do very often, but again, against a team like us that runs so much inside and outside zone, this kind of double pinch look from
Mhm.
both of the ends, and then the two outside backers being able to play essentially the CD gap really just kills the play that we've got called right now. We would have been fine actually if we would have called zone. It would have been a lot better, but when they come into that and they play cover zero, we're just in a lot of trouble. It creates a lot of one-on-one blocks up front, which we miss a couple. And blocking their guys one-on-one is well, not practical because
Yeah.
they're just so talented. But yeah, the first series of our games usually is just a lot of information getting, to be honest. I know I've talked about this in the clinics I do about 75 to 80% of the games that we've charted over the last couple of years, the other team plays a defense that we flat out haven't seen them play, and that we really didn't practice. So this is just kind of another look at, them coming out with a great call in the first play of the game, expecting a run, and us having a running play called for their 4-2 that we thought would be really successful and really good. And they come out not in that, and we get stuffed here for a yard. But yeah, I mean that opening drive in a game like this, I think what I'm looking for is just finding out what their plan is. Obviously, doing things that the kids are familiar and comfortable with to keep them in kind of their own mental safe zone, not doing anything crazy, and just wanting to get out there and play football and kind of help these kids take the edge off some.
So play two here, we're going to jump. We're going to false start, which is
Not
obviously
taking.
not a great start. And it's 2nd and 9, and now it's 2nd and 14. Um,
Yeah.
one of
Yeah.
the things
So
that
go ahead.
go ahead, you go ahead.
Yeah. So what happens there is they exchange their front here, and our center has to then make a new call, and our quarterback doesn't give our quarterback. This is the second game he's ever played, and he doesn't give him enough time to get the call made, and just continues on his cadence rhythm. And what he should do is just slow down a little bit right here, and
Mm-hmm.
when that shift happens, allow our center to go ahead and make his call. So our center, you can see him kind of turning, making his call there, and the quarterback goes ahead and snaps the ball anyway, and so the center's behind. So we get a delayed game actually, or a false start here on the center.
One of the incredible things as we go through this first drive here, and we don't score on this drive, but when you think about it in a big picture sense, how often we see something totally different, like you talked about on the first play where they come down, they play that 6-man front. We see that so frequently, but our rate of scoring on drive one is still so high. And I think that's such a great credit to our kids to be able to go out and kind of just figure it out a little bit, and more often than not, we try to keep things really simple on drive one and let our kids be comfortable and execute what they know. But even then, to come out and see a defense that they've never seen before from the team that we're playing, they haven't practiced it the whole week, and for them to have to kind of take that first drive to put the pieces together and kind of solve the puzzle, I think is a really, really huge credit to our offensive line in particular, and how they kind of piece that together as the game starts, which is something that not a lot of other teams deal with the way that we deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's difficult on those guys. You practice something all week long, and then you walk out on a Friday, and it's
Hmm.
not what you've practiced, and it kind of throws all that out the window. So I think my job then as the coordinator too is to make sure that we do get back, like I said, into that kind of comfort zone where mentally the kids can execute something that they feel good with,
Hmm.
and for us that's our inside zone play, and
And
it's
here it
actually what
is.
we come back to right here and get a
Hmm.
nice chunk of yardage back. So I mean, it's just something we have to handle. And yes, the offensive line, it's hard on them, and they've done a great job overall of being able to deal with that. So, yeah, 2nd and 14 here. The goal right now is kind of hoping they've gotten away from that 6-1 thing for a play here now that we're in longer yardage, get back to their 4-2 package, which we thought we'd be more successful against. And really what I want to do on this play is just try to get about 6 yards out of this and make it 3rd and 8, which would be really manageable. Even 4 yards at 3rd and 10 would be great. So a running play here is not bad. What I don't want to do is pass twice and end up being
Hmm.
backed up in the shadow of our own end zone for a punt. So we're just trying to dig ourselves out a little bit here, and we get some good blocks up front, and we get 8 yards off this, which is really nice and puts us in a good position.
So here comes 3rd and manageable. 3rd and medium, 3rd and 6, and we're going to call it a sprint out here to the top of the screen, and talk a little bit about the play that we call sticks, and what the goal is here and why it's a good call against this particular defensive structure.
So our sticks play is essentially just a sprint out triangle route, what a lot of people call triangle routes. You're going to have 3 people that at the end of the route, their landmarks are essentially going to be a gigantic triangle. And it gives you spacing and it gives you different levels to throw on. So it attacks the defense in multiple areas here. So essentially what's going to happen is the guy on the very top of the screen here, which is our Z, the sticks play, we call it this to a lot of our plays are to kind of remind kids of, what route they're supposed to run. So the sticks route up top, it reminds the Z that you're essentially going to run a bench route, and it's going to be 2 yards past the sticks and then come back to them. So if that route ends up being open, we've got an automatic easy throw for a guaranteed first down. Truthfully, oddly, we don't throw that very often. A lot of teams play some form of cover 3 or quarter flat quarter to trips or something. So that route does get covered a pretty fair amount. The next thing we're doing then is essentially we're going to play around with the flat defender on the read. So
This is him.
the number 2 receiver is going to run what we call kind of a driving whip route. He's going to come in, plant his foot, get inside of this alley defender, and then he's going to work out with the quarterback and kind of stay mirrored to the quarterback. And then the number 3 receiver is he's going to be kind of the decisive route here, where that flat defender then has to choose what he wants to do. So he's going to run what we call an arrow route out to the flat. And if that alley defender there that's in conflict now, if he goes out with the flat route, then that little driving whip route should be open, which is exactly what happens here. But the key to this is he works with that quarterback then. He's staying away from the inside linebacker who's going to get pulled along with the quarterback. So against this defense, what we wanted to do, you can see him kind of work for width now and get out of 45's window here as well. What we wanted to do against this defense was kind of attack that hook curl seam area that is essentially on this play right there on the hash, where they're going to have a lot of difficulty defending that space. And this was one of our better routes for the week. We'd executed it really well throughout the week, and the kids do a great job here. Riker makes a great kind of diving catch. Again, right past the chains, you can kind of see those guys are up top in kind of a triangle at the end of this route, which is what we want. So we see this little triangle they've built now. So Maxon might be just a hair deep, but that's what we want. We've got a triangle of receivers at different levels, vertically and horizontally, and we're sprinting out to it. So the other reason I like this play is right now 94 would be denying this, but in the event that all 3 of those guys do get covered for some reason, your quarterback can also run the football and make something happen. So,
Mhm.
we end up not needing that right now, and we make a good we're on a good route, make a good throw here, and pick up a huge first down.
Let's keep this drive moving. So come back on first down, and this the same play from play one out of a different formation. Um, on the first play of the game, Hook was in here tight, and we gave the ball to Charlie. This is going to be a little bit different look where Charlie will now be the lead, and Lincoln will run the ball. But again, unfortunately, we get the 6-man front on first down, and the whole thing kind of falls apart on us.
Yeah, so this one was, again, the same play, same concept, just from, like you said, a different formation. The reason I called this one is because I wanted to see, because we do use the wing a lot back like on play one. I wanted to see if that adjustment they made was going to be just for when we used the wing, because we brought in a little bit heavier package. I wanted to see if that was going to be maybe an auto check for them, that if we had a wing in the game, they were going to run that 6-1 kind of look and play cover 0. Obviously, we find out right here it is not. It's just going to be something that they're going to have called. As of right now, it's been both first downs, but as far as I'm concerned, it could be random. But yeah, as of now, the information we've gathered from this is going to be something that they're going to be doing, and how consistently or how frequently. Obviously, the fourth play we don't know yet, but it's happened twice out of 2 very different formations, so it's going to be part of their plan, and we're going to have to make some adjustments when we get to the sideline.
So we'll come back 2nd and 8, and we're going to throw again. We get them back in the 4-2 look here, and this is our fade concept. Let me go back a little bit here. So kind of a similar look to the sticks concept that you talked about, and especially the triangle thing, because that's a big part of, honestly, of any pass concept that you really want to throw, is you're trying to get that triangle. So you're going to get the fade, you're going to get the arrow, and then the whip is now going to come from inside here to try to pull 25 in. So it's going to look something like that. And there you see now 25 goes with Hook again. So similar concept here. Like you said, you kind of see the triangle here. I think Hook is in a good spot. Ricker might be a little bit deep here, but he's wide open, so it doesn't really matter. But now you see that 25 gives us the opposite read, where 25 now goes in, and now here we throw the arrow. Another big first down completion here to keep this drive going.
Yeah, this is another one that we practiced all week. It was in our scouting report. We felt like they were going to really struggle covering what we call our fade concepts, which is just a fade and a flat route out of 2x2 or 3x1, and really Lincoln makes a tremendous throw. I mean, he goes hash to outside opposite numbers here, and really throws a strike. And we pick up a big first down here on 2nd and 8. So again, just executing what was in the scouting report and what we practiced really well all week. The kids are doing a nice job right now.
Come back with a first down run here as we get closer to midfield.
Good push by the offensive line post contact here. Charlie does a good job running his feet. We get a couple nice combo blocks up front, and you can see our O-line kind of surge us on at the end of this play, driving their feet and doing a nice job. It's tough on the quarterback. Think he might pull that thing, but that 39 kid, the video is a little bit choppy. It probably doesn't do him justice. That kid was exceptionally fast. He kind of chased us up into the hole there on that last play a little bit. It's tough sometimes to get good read on the athletes like that are really, really good and explosive.
So 2nd and short here, and we're going to come back. We're going to run exactly the same play, but exactly the same formation. Can you explain a little bit about your philosophy as a play repeater, in that, something works and you're going to come right back to it?
Yeah. Football is not rocket science. If something's working, then we're going to keep on doing it until, you prove you can stop it. The goal of play calling and the goal of coaching football is to get yards, score touchdowns, and then obviously as a head coach is to win games. As an offensive coordinator, is to put your team in a position to win games if you're not a head coach. So as a head coach and coordinator, this really isn't difficult. We just got 7 yards to play before. It looked really good. We got the front that we wanted out of them, and now we're in second and short. And again, we've got in 2018, we've got a 3,300-yard rusher standing in the backfield that scored 70 touchdowns in a season. It's not hard that on 2nd and 3, we're going to get at least 2 shots to get a first down here. I'm going to go ahead and let the big boy do work behind the offensive line, and we're going to get a first down and move the chains here. So, the whole repeating thing is a little bit about speed and trying to catch them off guard or make them hurry up. And again, like I said earlier on, conditioning was a big deal for us in this game. So, any little bit that we can get them to not have a rest is going to help us in the long run, in my opinion. So, if it's working, we're not going to stop calling it. And if that ends up being, inside zone, outside zone, a counter play, a particular passing play, whatever it is, we're going to stay with it. So, yeah, it's, people make the game of football a lot harder than it should be. Speaking of football being hard, that's a pretty brutal shot to our quarterback right here. Our left tackle just sets too far out on this kid. This kid was a speed rusher as a scouting report. We had talked about him being a speed rusher, so he makes a huge mistake here thinking that he's going to speed rush outside, and he flat sets him way too wide, gives up his inside foot and gets beat, and our quarterback just gets crushed on this play here.
I'd tell you, one of the things I think people miss in these situations is kind of what would have happened. And Lincoln is on Blake the whole way on this. And that corner is flat-footed. Blake's about to just absolutely burn this kid. And Lincoln knows it. And if we just have the opportunity to get this ball away, I mean, right there, Blake's already even.
Yeah.
And that kid's still flipping his hip. And this if we can connect on this is just the easiest 6 that there's ever been. That's just football, man. It takes all 11. And this is a touchdown off the board right here, probably.
Yeah, this is the one I talked about earlier. This is just out of a different formation. It's just our fade flat concept at the top of the screen, and we get him in a bad spot. And what's actually crazy about this play is that kid's a great player, really physical kid, the kid that makes the quarterback hit here. But what's crazy about this play, again, you're talking about a quarterback in his second ever start, and he's playing in a really hostile environment. And when he got hit, his helmet actually jammed into his ear, and it started swelling up really bad. He actually had kind of lost hearing for this entire game. His ear swelled up so bad that he couldn't hear out of his one ear. And he's a tough kid. I mean, a really tough kid. We got a lot of really tough players, but, he never came out of the game, never skipped a beat. But, yeah, he couldn't hear out of one ear for essentially the entirety of the game after that.
So come back second down. Here's our first look at what we call bunch up here. And a little informational gathering here, I think, in my mind, for a couple of reasons. One, to see how many they're willing to commit to the bunch, which is kind of the reason we do this in general. But 2, I think what you've done here, we're back in the Iowa, the ISO play, the play that we've called the 2 times before they've been in the 6-man front. I think this is actually really smart by you, because you really can't play the 6-1 to bunch. And by getting in this to try to run the Iowa play, I think you've done a really nice job here of forcing them out of that and forcing them into the 4-2 to get the front that we want to run the Iowa or the ISO play.
Right. Yeah, again, this is a little bit of the game planning type stuff coming through here. So we've seen kind of that 6-1 look twice, and unfortunately they run it both of the times that we've had Iowa called, which has really destroyed the play before it even started. This time we get what we want, and I went to the bunch to obviously see how they're going to react to bunch and how they're going to play it. If it's going to be some kind of an auto check, how many people they're willing to commit out there. The problem here is we missed 2 blocks up front, and some of this, truthfully, is, we've run Iowa twice now, or what we call Iowa twice now, and it's really been no good both times. Some of that is the front. Some of that has been the blocking. It really now comes down to, in my mind as a coordinator, as I evaluate this on the sideline actively during the game, watching things on film and then drawing them on paper is significantly different than when the kids go out there on the field. So now it's going to be a question of, you know, can we just not accomplish this? Maybe their guys up front are just way better than we thought. Maybe the solo block is not going to be what we thought. Maybe the double team, we just can't double those guys, whatever it might be. So as a coordinator, you've got to start evaluating on the sideline, why is the play not going well? Are we missing blocks? Well, that's one thing. We can fix that. Mm-hmm. Can we not execute the blocks properly because they're just too good? Well, that's a different thing. And if it's the former, well, you can fix it and maybe stick with it. If it's the latter and your kids just can't get it done, then it's time to move on from it. So, this was unfortunate.
This is unfortunate, but this is a play called Wyoming that we put in for this week because we felt like we're going to take Hook here and we're going to kind of leak him across and try to hit him late. But we actually get a really weird defensive structure to this. They're in a 50, a 5-man front here. They're in a kind of a 5-2 cover 0 look, with a single high. But the wild thing on this is that it's the defensive lineman, the Curry kid, who is playing, it looks like a 3 technique, but is the guy that drops to cover him. And this is just as perfect as it gets right here.
Yeah, so they've done a couple of these, right till the very end of it. They've done a couple of these kind of fire zone drops in the past where they'll use their really good and active defensive linemen to cover up pressures from linebackers and stuff. This is just a different look. So we get exactly what you said here. It almost resembles a 50 defense, even though 4 guys have their hand on the ground. You're kind of getting a variation of their 4-2-5 here, and they use their best interior tackle as kind of a middle hole dropper, which is really a unique and interesting thing, but actually a lot better than what we had probably planned for this play. We'd practiced this play all week, and it looked really, really good. And unfortunately, the one guy on our team who probably executes the most consistently and the best overall, which is Brody at the bottom, he very rarely ever makes mistakes on either side of the ball. His job is to run a post on this play and drag that corner off to the middle of the field with him, which would have opened up the bottom of the field. He runs a fade instead, which allows this kid to see what's still happening in front and play both. And he breaks his feet down and tries to block this kid instead, and we end up getting this pass broken up. I mean, if he ran this kid off, though, this might be a huge gainer here. And it really was just a one-off. This is not a play that you can run twice. It's essentially a tight end delay throwback. You don't get away with this 2 or 3 times in a game. We really needed it for a situation exactly like what we're in now. We get an even better one. It doesn't work. I thought it was a good call. We just don't execute it very well, but those things happen. So a solid first drive. We're backed up inside of our own territory pretty deep. We get the ball, across midfield against a really good team on the road. I feel pretty good about that first drive.
So 4th and 9 at the 44, 43. How much thought did you give into going for this?
Not a ton. I mean, a little bit. I thought about it some. Some of that was that last play there. Maxon got the wind knocked out of him and had to come out of the game. He literally just couldn't breathe. So some of that was, finding the guy on the punt team, which really in this moment was a lot more of truthfully my fault as opposed to what would, you're the special teams coordinator. It really, I call a timeout here in a second. Thought about it. 4th and 9 is not something I'm really a fan of, but we lost Max in that last play to getting the wind knocked out of him pretty bad. And we're down a guy on the punt team then, and you're taking a pretty green guy off the sideline and throwing him in there on punt for Maxon right now. And so I kind of delayed things, and then you'll see me walk down towards the official here and go ahead and burn a timeout, which, again, early in the game I don't really want to do. I like to have those for more important times, but I don't want to take a delay a game penalty and back us up even further.
Yeah.
This to me was a perfect yard line for a punt. It's right in the area where Eric usually can sit the ball down inside the 10 pretty easily. I think backing us up 5 kind of got him out of that range, and I really did not want to take a 5-yard penalty here with a really good chance of Eric's leg being able to back them up for us. So I went ahead and burned a timeout on this, and that happens fast. I mean, that's a lot of quick thinking, but you got to know the range of your punter and what he's able to do. And this is kind of a sweet spot for him. Every Thursday we do a pin in punt, and that's kind of and you'll see him in the balls of the 15. So
yep,
we got what we wanted out of that. But yeah, I burned a timeout there.
So don't have the clip of the actual punt, but like you said, they're on 15-yard line, so really a pretty good punt there from Raudebush. And now we're on defense. So talk briefly here about the challenges that their offense poses, both in what they do in the wing T, which is what this is, and then in the spread too. Before we get going on this first drive, this is a long drive for them that ends in a field goal.
Yeah, they have many long drives. Yeah, I mean, the big thing that going into the week is, they've been a wing T team since Coach Moore's been there, and that's just what they do. It is incredibly difficult to deal with. You don't see a lot of wing T anymore anyway. You usually don't see it run as well as what they can run it, and especially with the size of the offensive line. Their guys, I think they were just a tick under 300 pounds on average. Their offense was, again, really well loaded. I mean, they've got a Division I center, Division I quarterback. Their tailback, who's a Division I kid, was actually out for this game with an injury. But they've got an arsenal of running backs that's just unbelievable. They've got about
I'll tell you what, I'm going to stop you real quick here on play 2. You want to talk about Division I quarterback. How about this throw? This is from Taven on this. I mean, this is just a little flick of the wrist from him. And, I mean, that ball is every bit of 40 yards on a rope. Yeah. On a rope. Man, that is a throw.
Yeah, he's really good. So the big problem then is obviously with a kid that's like this, that's this talented, you then have to defend all their downfield passing stuff out of the wing T because obviously he can do things like this. And then they go into spread more often now. And the game that we evaluated them on, they actually ran spread more than they ran wing T in week 1. So then it becomes, well, how much of which are you going to practice? The core of it was, though, you have to stop the wing T and make them go to spread because they're not traditionally a spread team. The issue then became, do you really want them in spread? Because now that kid's back there and he can run around and throw. So it's a little bit of a pick your poison. Obviously, we're going to stop the wing T stuff as best we can. So what you've seen here on these clips is they roll. Normally, we're a stack team. We play a 3-3-5 defense or a 3-5-3, however you want to call that. But we're a stack team on defense. So what you're looking at right now is what we call our snake package, where we'll actually shift our linebackers over and we'll roll one of our alley safeties down, and we'll essentially play a 50. The unique thing about this, though, is behind it, we will play a cover 4 look, but we will play it essentially like how Michigan State had played their cover 4, where the 2 safeties essentially have run pass keys, and if they read run, they're going to fill. And that's going to allow us to get 9 guys in the box against the wing T. And if it's a pass, it allows us to get at least 4 over the top in coverage, plus then 2 down box guys. So we're kind of playing both sides at once here. With that, you've got to have some smart kids that are experienced, which we did. We had all 5 DBs back for the 3rd year in a row. We had plenty of talent there. Up front on defensive line, again, we don't do this very often, but we're going to try to 2-gap with our 3-down linemen. We normally don't do that. But against this, we're going to try to use our strength and 2-gap these guys and not allow them to double team and climb to backers. And then the 2 inside backers are both going to read guards. The outside backers, which you can see Cade doing a good job on that right there, their job is to pin everything in. So the 2 stand-up outside backers on the edge, number 81 and number 5, Cade's at the bottom here. Their job is to turn everything back inside and keep their outside arm clean. He's doing a pretty good job of that, taking on 2 blockers there. So it's a huge problem. And you've got to stop your buck sweep, your bellies, all that stuff, your counters. I mean, the wing tee can really be a pain in the butt because you just don't see it. And a lot of kids just aren't used to that style of offense playing defensively. So you got to be really disciplined. We felt like we had some really good tendencies on them in regards to where the ball was going to go and what they did out of certain formations, but it's also really early in the season, so that could have just been their game plan of the week, and so those tendencies may not hold true. Here's a fold play, which again
They're
is
really good at this fold. They run this fold so well.
Yeah, it's really nice play. So we're settling in here on defense right now. The big thing that we talk to the kids about is this isn't going to be one of these games where we just 3 and out and shut them down and stop them, and here we go, here comes the offense back out. What we actually wanted is we wanted to make their offense run tons of plays. We felt like the more plays they ran, the better chance we had to stop them.
There's a really good play by Kyle right there.
That was a great play. Kyle's our defensive tackle that went to Michigan State this year. So that was the thing. We wanted them to run a ton of plays. We felt like if we could make them run more plays, we had a better chance to stop them. Again, the conditioning factor in that, even though our kids play both ways, we just felt like their longer drives, they became more inefficient as drives went on. What we couldn't do is allow them to just rip off massive chunks like that one pass you saw earlier. We wanted to make them essentially play 3 to 4 downs to move the chains. We couldn't give up first down things. So, and we did a good job of that. The hard part about this, again, with the quarterback so talented, is covering the whole field. We felt like if we could get them actually right about where they are right now, we would play better defense because they couldn't use the wing tee to get over our heads as much on play action stuff. So a really good job of by Eric covering this wheel route here. Really well done by him on this kind of curl wheel on the top side. That's really nice coverage.
So just going to kind of keep this moving here, and if you see something, just kind of shout out here, and I'll stop. Here's a nice blitz from Hook, who honestly I think kind of got a little spooked. We got in there, and let Taven get away from him.
Yeah, we talked about this one the next morning on film. What you've seen the last couple of plays here, by the way. So one of the hard parts that Coach West mentioned in this game is when you've got a team that runs 2 totally different offensive systems and they're efficient at both of them. So in this case, wing tee and then spread, as you can see, even though it's 11 personnel, we had to have 2 totally different systems in on defense this week to match those things. So with our practice time and kids playing both ways, we don't 2 platoon. So you don't have a ton of time to get good at both of those things. And that's a big problem because wing tee and spread are about as different as you can get. So you can see when they went in spread packages, we had to check to go back to our stack here. We bring Maxon off the top side, and honestly, all he does is he doesn't bring his feet down. He's going against a really good athlete, and Maxon himself's a Division I player, and he just goes in for a kill shot. We talked about it in film. He doesn't break his feet down. He's got to break his feet down, get under control, and just make the tackle and make the play. It's not about, spearing this quarterback. It's about making the actual sack, and a good player makes him pay for it. Hits a really good strike here to get him to a 4th and short, and, just not an effort error, just a technique error by us.
Another really good throw from Taven here. I mean, back foot, off balance, his feet are a mess. I mean, that's not what you want out of your feet as a quarterback, and this is still a strike to a nice curl route out here too. Man, that kid's a good player.
Yeah, he's really good. Again, that was a huge concern, is if he were to take off or he could sit back there in the pocket even. Really, no matter what you do, you're in a lot of trouble. I mean, he's got a lot of talent. 4th and short's an easy call for them. They're going for this, no problem. And they run their fold play again here to the wing, which had been really, really good just a second ago. And we make a good stop, but just not enough.
Little crisscross.
Here's a little counter action now. this is a play that we had actually done really well against throughout the week with our cross reads and stuff. This is definitely one of their big hitter plays, and we stop it here for about 5, which is really honestly pretty good for what this is. It's a really good play for them. You can see us now. You can see us though as the drive wears on. We're starting to slow them down a little bit here. Again, it sounds absurd, but kind of part of the plan. I mean, we really physically we don't match up well with them when they're fresh. They're just so much bigger than we are, and we've got guys playing both ways, and it does not lend itself. I mean, you can see the size discrepancy just looking at the tape right here. It doesn't lend itself well on the opening 5 to 6 plays of a drive, but we felt like if we could get them into plays 9, 10, 11, and 12, we could start slowing them down some because they were going to tire out a little bit, and we weren't. So you're starting to see some of that take hold here as we start reestablishing the line of scrimmage some.
So this would be second about 4.
Yeah, this is our bear check here. Probably not a great call for the situation because they've been hitting kind of that BC gap a lot, but this was one of our change-ups for their buck sweep stuff. We would go into our snake bear front here and play double 3s and a 0. They end up running really exactly what we call. We just get pinned in too much here. We get the buck sweep, which we felt like this was going to be a really good front for it here. We probably should have stayed in our actual snake package, but it is what it is. This is their jet.
Here's jet look here. Should do a really good job of stringing out. Nice play by Maxon on that one from depth.
This is probably one of the plays that we've been the best against them for 2 years. We've done a really good job. Our kids are fast. Again, we're not bigger than them, but we definitely have a lot of team speed. So this is a huge stop on first down right here. And then back into the spread. This is what's difficult. Your kid's got to be really in tune to it. And this is what scares you. He takes off and starts running. We actually get him to fumble the ball there, and it bounces right back up to him. But, yeah, you got to keep lane integrity. So then all week what happens here is we lose lane integrity with our bottom side defensive end. Matt loses lane integrity and gets swept way too far underneath, and that messes the pocket up. He should have come back and returned there at the bottom of the screen. He's getting blocked by 65, I think, right there. He's got to return right there and get back to his lane, and that, again, causes a lot of problems. And now you've got a really good athlete sprinting around in the pocket, and we cause a fumble, but it luckily bounces right back up into his lap there. But
it's something we talked to the kids about quite a bit during the week, and we got them to lay the ball on the turf a couple times against us in 2018. And they laid the ball down against Warren the week before this too. So this was something that we thought was possible. And I mean, even just when you watch Taven run, great athlete, don't get me wrong, he's going to be an incredible quarterback at this level and at the next level as well. But, you see the ball security issues there, and a good job there. I think that's Avon. That's Will Olive that comes in there and gets that strip. And good job by our kids being in scouting report and being aware of the situation too.
Yeah, if someone doesn't carry the ball well, that's one thing on our personnel report we put in the scouting report that, let's say it's number 12 or something like that, or whatever, whoever it is, if they don't protect the ball well, we'll make a note in there of the scouting report for the kids. First man makes the tackle, but the second man go for the ball. And some kids carry it really well, and it's honestly maybe not as much worth it. Just tackle them and get them on the ground, but some don't. So it's a really good job here on this tunnel screen by our defense. Matt does a really nice job on this play, expanding and good pursuit to the football. Really good inside out, good contained by Cade to turn it back in. It's a good job.
So we hold them to a field goal here. Really nice day for their kicker. This kid is really good. They've always had good kickers. Almost get a block here, and this is one we saw on tape. Really thought we could get it from this side more than we could get from this side. Maxon almost gets there. This is pretty much the exact same way that Decatur runs their field goal and PAT protection, and Maxon blocked one in the state championship game in 2018. We almost got the same look there and got a block on that one as well. So they make the field goal, which is fine, and here we come back on offense now down 3-0. And talk to me. I'm going to kind of move through this pretty quick so we can keep this moving. Um, about kind of how you felt coming back out for drive 2.
Yeah, so it's funny because now we're down 3-0, and so this is a year and 2 games, and we've only been behind once in over a year to anybody. So the 2018 season, we were only down at all for 5 minutes of game clock, and that wasn't until week 14. So seeing how the kids are going to respond to actually being behind here is going to be interesting. We've got a lot of information from the first drive. You can see us go right back to our comfort zone here. The ISO play really has not been good, so I kind of need to re-eval that in my head as things go on. I coach the DBs too, so on defense I don't get a ton of time to really think about stuff, but I remember processing the fact that ISO may not be great for us. We need to go back to some of the zone stuff and just work what we do best and get our kids back in a little bit of a rhythm. So you saw us run inside zone there really successfully. We come back to our quarterback zone here and get a penalty on them for a personal foul on this play.
They called that on 37 there for a late hit.
So we get a personal foul here and get the chains going again. And right now we've got a nice drive moving. The kids have responded exceptionally well to what's going on. Here comes inside zone again. We run this actually to the weak side, so away from the wing, and just kind of seal that backside edge here. Again, trying to figure out if that 6-1 is going to be an auto check to the wing. It obviously now is not. They're in a much more spread look now, kind of a 4-3 cover 4, and we get ourselves into the second quarter. So, yeah, this is I wanted to make sure – so this is the first play of the second quarter now. We've got the ball moving. We've got a good drive. They've kind of loosened their box up. They're playing more of the structure that we have practiced, and this was the one route that we really – so when they play cover 4, the reason that teams like them play cover 4 is they're not going to let you get over their head and beat you with big plays. They're going to make you essentially drive the ball into their defensive line and linebackers, which is the strength of their defense, and – they're going to make you earn first downs. They're not going to let you get over the top. So when we play cover 4 teams, we really like this double post look because it causes a lot of problems. So we call our mesh route here and choose to max protect this one just because their defensive line is so disruptive. We get a really, really good look off of our double post. It's honestly exactly what we want to see. Mm-hmm. And Lincoln throws a really good ball. We just get out jumped a little bit, and that kid makes a great play and just kind of high points us here, honestly, is all that happens. And, that's a game of football. We felt like we had a really good play against them. The routes are both run really well. The protection is pretty solid. Lincoln makes a really nice throw. We just get out jumped, and things happen. And that's just the way that it goes sometimes. And, Lincoln came over the sideline, and I talked to him in the ear that he could actually hear out of. And, I told him, I said, look, man, that's, he was upset, because he turned the ball over. And I said, man, I said, that I'm okay with that. I really will. I'm not mad. He made a great throw. The kid made a fantastic play. That's just football, and quite frankly, it was 2nd and 6. Could we have converted a first down? Well, probably so. But, really that play, and I told him, I said, that play ended up being a punt. Just think of it as a punt. I know it was 2nd and 6, but let's say it's batted down, it's incomplete, and we don't convert the next play. You pretty much just punted them the ball, and you've got to come back out the next drive, and we've got to keep playing the game of football. I get upset with silly turnovers that are caused by reckless play. And that was not one of those things. So, we're going to live to play another series here, and we got some more good information. Inside zone was working really well, and we're going to come back to it. We know what's good, and we're going to stick with it from here on. And we took a shot and missed it. It's okay.
Well, I tell you what, a nice response here by our defense too. We get a holding penalty on them on first down, so now they're backed up on the 8-yard line. It's 1st and 16 probably. Nice play here by Kyle King when they go back in the spread and they try to run kind of their one back power here, and Kyle's able to get inside, get inside of the tackle on this and kind of blow this play up. So our defense responds really well here. That's a rare mistake there from Taven. He's actually going to make it twice in a row here. They're going to run the same thing. They're going to make the same call, run this same route out here to the Vice kid, and he's going to miss him twice, which is really uncharacteristic for him.
Yeah, Cam's got to stay on an outside shoulder a lot better than that. I mean, when we're playing that cover 4, you've got to stay more to the outside shoulder on this kid. He gets a little too even with him, and it kind of gives him this this kind of deep out route here, and we've just got to play that. We've got to play that better than that. But we get off the field, which is what's really important. We kept him in the pocket and made him throw the ball long downfield, which again is really not what they want to do. You know, they don't want to be in spread often, and they don't want to have to convert long yardage. So we got them into that, and the kids did a great job, and we get them the punt.
So a little bit of a freak out moment for me here. We're out there in pregame warm-up, and they had a new punter this year, and the kid had punted pretty well in the Warren Central game, but he comes out in pregame warm-up. He's one of their wing backs, and he is wearing just this massive brace on his kicking leg. And he doesn't even kick in pregame. He doesn't take a single punt. So we kind of went into this not knowing really what was going to happen. And the kid that they had out there warming up to punt, I'm going to tell you, Coach, he could not kick the ball 20 yards.
Yeah,
so
I saw him in the pregame evals.
Really didn't know what was going to happen. And then they come out to punt for the first time, and there's the quarterback. And kind of some alarm bells sounding on this. We had a block on. You know, we're a full-time punt block team, love to come after punts, but when I saw him standing back there, that kind of spooked me a little bit, and I just want to keep him in front of us. And we actually kind of benefited from a pretty poor kick here. He had some really good kicks this year. He really is a pretty good punter. But this is not a great one here, and we're going to be in pretty good field position coming back.
Yeah, I think we fortunately caught him in his first game ever punting, so that was good. So we've got great field position. Again, I think this really just helped, especially with some of the offensive psyche here that, you know, the conversation earlier about it's pretty much just a punt, don't worry about it. We get the ball back in great field position really quickly. So I think offensively that settled the kids down a little bit. We go back with another one of our let's see how far you're willing to go formations here with our stack look, and come right back to our inside zone play. We get that 6-1 deal again with a double spike, which is something that's obviously really, really popular for them on first down, which we're going to have to keep taking note of and, again, start addressing with the kids that, hey, 1st and 10, this is pretty much what we're going to be getting, guys. And it makes sense, you know, just us being such a heavy run team and obviously Charlie in the backfield and inside zone being our play. A double spike, you know, is a really good call. So
come right back to it here out of a different formation on the second play, which is a first down. We don't get on the front side backer.
Yeah, so we don't get our guard up to the front side backer at all here. He sticks on the double team, and if we get onto him, this is probably 6 points. And again, that's kind of one of those things that I was talking about earlier, that you've got to eval as a coordinator as the game goes on. You know, okay, so the ISO play wasn't working. Well, why not? Is it because we're missing blocks, or is it because we just can't execute it with their personnel? We thought on film and on paper this is going to be a really nice play. Well, guess what? When you show up and, you know, 91 looks like what 91 looks like and 72 looks like what 72 looks like, well, may not be a great play. And so we're going to go ahead and put the ego aside, and we're going to call plays that do work or are going to work better. And, you know, that inside zone play right there is another example. Well, it's our bread and butter play. That wasn't we got physically beaten, we can't handle this. That was we didn't do our job.
Right.
That to me is a very different negative play than we can't do this. It's more of we didn't do this. So if we execute and actually get on our assignment, then we're in a great spot there. So that's part of your job as a coordinator, is to evaluate those things. You know, put the ego to the side, and sometimes that means throwing a little bit of the game plan out the window and call things that are going to work.
So come back to the sticks play here on 2nd and long, 2nd and 8, and this is the big first down conversion we had to Riker earlier in a little bit different personnel grouping here now. Cade is in and Maxon is out, and this ball goes to Cade. Same route. This is exactly the same ball that Riker caught earlier that gets us down inside the 5 and gets us down to about the 3-yard line.
This is a great example of our kids being smart kids on the field and being well coached. You can see Cade on this one. As he runs his route, he sees that the pressure has actually gone to the outside of him. So before, when Riker ran it, you saw him start working for width with the quarterback because the pressure was from the inside out. This is a great job of him recognizing that the pressure actually is coming from the outside in. So the window is going to be inside in this triangle. And he sits down and actually works his way back into the hash, uses his big body as kind of a box out, and Lincoln throws a great ball to the inside shoulder. It's really well done here.
Now, here come the big boys, double tight as we're on the 2-yard line here and trying to punch this one in.
Yeah, there's not a lot of rocket science here when we get down to like inside of the 3. You got a 225-pound war machine at tailback. We're going to go ahead and just let him finish it. We, again, don't get up to the front side linebacker on these combos here. They just load the box up so much. But part of the scheme in that is Charlie does know that or the backside backer rather, sorry, that backside backer may not get blocked if they go ahead and just gap us across the board. So when we work through our drills with the running backs, I've got those guys. This is actually one of the drills that we do where they meet contact inside the line of scrimmage. And we do a lot of stuff with bags and big, heavy dummies and stuff to teach them how to run through that stuff. So I'm going to take Charlie in the whole one-on-one against pretty much anybody. He does a great job, lowers his pads right there, puts his shoulder pad in that kid's chin, and just drives us through the end zone. So any good running back has got to win one-on-one, and he's better than good by a lot. So he goes ahead and surges us in right there. We got good blocking, though, up front. I mean, we went hat on a hat there and did a pretty nice job.
So don't have the extra point there. I think that's going to come up here out of order in a little bit. But here's the opening kickoff, or the kickoff to follow that, which we do a pretty good job on. And we're going to start this drive in decent field position. They committed a penalty on that play, which is always helpful in terms of field position, especially against a wing T team. So there's your fold again on first down. Or that's not fold. Sorry, that's your lead around there.
Yeah,
your ISO look.
ISO play. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this was one of the big plays we had a concern with is that ISO play. They just overload that one side so much that the safeties essentially have to make the tackle. Kyle ends up making a great play and beating them to it. But, they fan out like that and open up that big gap and then run that ISO right inside of there. It's a tough play to stop.
So here comes a little sprint out to the corner, kind of a smash look here. You get kind of a speed out type look here from the outside guy, kind of a runaway curl a little bit, and then they get the corner on us here.
Yeah, Cade just gets a step behind this guy. Again, this is what I'm talking about. This is one of their running backs now going out in the slot. I mean, they have so many good dynamic athletes. It's a really good route by this kid, really talented player. And they can use so many different kids because their personnel don't have to change. They use all these different kids in so many different ways. It makes it really hard to stop. I mean, going from wing T to spread, not having to really sub anybody, makes it difficult. We just get beat right here. A quick kid beats us. Cade kind of gets his feet out of whack, and kid runs a really nice corner out. Cade tries to split his hands, and he just makes a nice catch. It's a big play for them. See, this was the big issue. Yeah, going to spread was almost worse than them being in wing T. So they run inside zone here, and again, we're struggling right now. Early in their drives to make them earn yards. They've been on the sideline, they've been rested up. We knew it was going to be a problem. It still doesn't make it that it's acceptable, but their ability to change between different systems and packages was something that was going to be hard for us. And again, early in a drive here, when they're fresh, we're struggling.
So down inside the 40, there comes they run one back power that last time.
And really, this was probably the play that we did the best against all week long. When they ran this, when our scout team, which is a side note, is probably one of the greatest challenges for a small school playing a big school. I mean, our scout team center in this particular week was 185 pounds. Theirs was a 305-pound Division I center. So you're not getting the same – and our kids really work their butt off at this stuff, but you're not getting the same look. And that is really hard to replicate some of this stuff. And that's why early in some of these big games, our defense really has to settle in a little bit because – when we're going against bigger schools like Center Grove or the 5A playoffs and stuff, and these teams have more resources than we do, it is really difficult to get your defense up to some kind of a game quality speed and adjustment because we can't replicate that. We just can't replicate those things. So, but in practice, I do remember their one back power stuff was something we felt like we had a really good tendency on, and we really did a great job of that in practice. And we've stopped it a couple times now really, really well.
So now they're down. There's the extra point from earlier. So now we're down inside the 20, and another really nice job by our defense here to kind of buckle down like you talked about as they kind of start to get tired and as the field starts to compress a little bit, our defense really kind of rises to the challenge here, and we're able to hold them to a field goal.
Yeah, you can see us start to reestablish the line of scrimmage a little bit better. They're not moving us. We're actually flattening them out. And keeping the line of scrimmage essentially at neutral. So that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. Being able to reestablish that line of scrimmage, pretty good attempt at a cut tackle there.
Kind of got a lucky little trip and fall there on that one.
Sometimes a little bit of luck will help you out.
Yep.
And then we get them back into the spread and get a really nice pressure here out of our guys. Good coverage. Really nice sack here by Richie on this play. This is a big, big momentum changer here to get him back into the spread, take away his primary read. Again, we had some good tendencies on some of their pass game stuff and felt like we kind of knew where the ball was going to be going actually. And so we take away his primary throw. And by the time he comes back to the secondary, we're playing man-to-man here, and we've got them all covered. And you can see the difference in that one where we actually stay in our rush lanes compared to the previous one or two where we don't. We've got, we talk to our guys all the time. The one tip I always harp on our defense about is if you can't see his eye against a good running quarterback, if you can't see their eyes, you're wrong. And the last couple, we had one guy in each one of them that lost sight of the quarterback's eyes, which means you're out of your lane. You're not in front of him to keep him in the pocket. What you saw on that one is essentially 4 or 5 guys that all stayed in front of him, made him scramble, and then you can pursue. If you break your lanes and let him run, you're in trouble. We want
go back to that.
Him out of that pocket.
I'll go back to that. Yeah, Richie does a really nice job maintaining the angle too, and
the pursuits are easier. It's such a huge difference against a good running quarterback. You can see how our lanes are. Everybody's in their lane where they're supposed to be. They can see his eyes. If you can't see his eyes, you're wrong. And that's such a big deal against quarterbacks that are elusive and really athletic like him. We give him nowhere to go, and then when he makes his choice, we can actually react and run to that. And that's the difference you see there, and a really good job by our defense.
So another field goal. This is a nice kick here, 38-yarder, which makes it 7-6. And we're going to have one more drive here to end the first half. Kind of a rare mistake there from him to kick this ball out of bounds. That is really unlike him. I know they were trying to kick it down here kind of outside the numbers to make it a little more tough for us to run our return, but got a really nice break there and really good field position to start this last drive of the half.
Yeah, so we're not quite – I mean, we're in a little bit of a 2-minute scenario here. There wasn't really much of a reason to hurry up. So we're kind of going to control. What I don't want is them to get the ball again and possibly score because we're up 7-6 right now. So what I'm looking for out of this is just a good quality drive. Let's move the ball down the field, see if we can get it in some kind of a scoring range here, and then hopefully come out of this drive with points. But what I don't want is this drive to just be bang, 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 3 plays lightning fast, and we end up punting and they get the ball back and get him back in the spread and make us pay for it. So some of this is again, having to make decisions in the game as a head coach and a coordinator. What are you looking for out of this? Obviously, you want to score some points if you can, but I'm not going to sacrifice that for turnovers or, too quick of a drive. So we're going to come back with some pretty safe, smart stuff here. And then, honestly, you're just going to play it as it goes. If the drive is going well, then we're going to keep on progressing and moving, and we'll speed up if necessary. That's something I can do as a coordinator. I just go a little bit more hurry up and call the plays faster. If I want to bleed clock, then I don't. So we get a really good run on inside zone on first down. You can see that change we've obviously made is to get back to our inside zone stuff. We missed a pretty easy pass that last play, come right back to inside zone, catch him in a twist, and pick it up really well. Charlie makes a good break for it here, and now we're going to start to progress a little bit and get moving. Again, it's not part of a 2-minute plan. We're not just flying here for the sake of it. But we've ripped off 2 big chunks of yards. We're down now in the red zone, and then we get a false start and shoot ourselves right in the foot. So not great. This actually ends up going from a really good series of events to a really bad series of events and costs us points on this drive. So you get about 4 plays of really, really good, and then we're about to have 2 plays of really, really bad here. The thing is, at the end of the day, it's high school football, and they're kids, and they're going to make mistakes. And like this one here is an effort mistake. I'm all right with this. We get a holding penalty on this play out of our left tackle. It's right in front of the official. He's working on drive blocking this guy and just gets a little bit too much jersey, and we get a penalty. So now we're in 1st and 25, and yeah.
So we get the yardage right back here on this wheel to Riker.
Yeah, it's an interesting series of events, like I said here. So we get good pro on this. This was one of our big hitters. If we really were in a bad situation here, this was one that we felt like was going to be a huge play for us. We end up beating this guy deep. We get a pass interference call. He really essentially tackles this wheel route at the bottom of the screen that comes wide open here. We get a pass interference call and get the yardage on the penalties right back. So kind of no harm, no foul, but, you certainly don't want to be in 1st and 25. But we did have a play for it in the event we needed it. This is just a mistake here by Lincoln. He should pull this ball. This guy knifes in so hard that should have been a pull. Again, like I said, we just kind of have a series where we just don't execute real well right here. Quarterback outside zone. We're trying to bleed a little bit of clock here. All right, so this is one. It only is funny because we ended up winning the game. It wouldn't have been funny if we ended up losing this game. But so this is our trick play. I normally just pause it there. I normally am absolutely not a fan of trick plays, and quite frankly, I think in my 7 years we have maybe run 2. This is one of the 2. We don't have a lot of practice time. I like to be really efficient with what we do, and so silliness and gimmicks and tricks are not part of that efficiency. And again, the job is to win football games, and when we don't have as much time because we can't 2 platoon, spending any time on a 1 play a game gimmick or trick is not something I'm much into. That's just my personal philosophy. It doesn't mean it's right. It's just my personal philosophy. So here's the situation when I make a call like this. We practiced this play this week. We knew they were going to respond incredibly hard to obviously Charlie running the football. We felt like we could get one-on-one coverage with really what's our top deep threat receiver in situations like this. And I felt like in the red zone when they went into some kind of a man-to-man type look, we could get extra pressure from their guys and get what we wanted. Also, Charlie can actually throw the ball pretty well. So I came up with this play this week because I felt like it could get us a cheap touchdown in a situation that would call for it. And so we practiced it pretty limited. And again, the stipulation was everything else has to be practiced well before we do this in practice. And the kids had a great really one of the best weeks of practice, honestly, on both sides of the ball and special teams that we've probably ever had. It was an unbelievable week of practice. The kids' intensity, we were dialed in. We were physical. We were exceptionally prepared for this game. So anyway, kind of like I mentioned earlier, with just making mental mistakes here, what ends up happening on this play then is the thought process to call this was this. We had a new kicker because our kicker was hurt. He'd only played in one game before, and really, and it's not a knock on Eric, he just had not been consistent on his field goals. And this is something you and I talk about through the week as well. For whatever reason, our kickers they're right-footed, but they both, Alex, who was hurt, and then Eric, who became the kicker for the first half of the season to replace him through his injury, both really struggled from the left hash, and we got stuck on the left hash. And they really are not very accurate from there. And we honestly, outside of practice scenarios, had never figured out what Eric's range was. And you're looking at a 30-plus yard field goal. So I remember saying something to you about whether or not he can make it, and your answer was pretty much exactly what I thought of. We just don't know. And so, with time running out, we had called a timeout. We called a double play. We called the run play you saw on the previous play, and then I said we're going to come right back to the line of scrimmage, and we're going to run the halfback pass. And I made sure everyone was clear on their assignments. We decided that we weren't going to kick the field goal. If the halfback pass were incomplete, then we would have pulled up for a field goal and kicked it then. But, I had thought about maybe kicking it possibly on third down in the event that we fumble a snap, et cetera. So we decided not to do that in the timeout. And, would we have gotten the 3 points or not? I'd like to say I believe a ton in Eric, and he would have made the field goal for sure, but you just never know. So to me, I guess the bonus of all this is I'm the head coach and have to answer to nobody. It looks like an absolutely ridiculous play given the scenario, but all the information that we had, in my opinion, it didn't make it a great call, but it at least made it a reasonable call. If an offensive coordinator would have come to me and said, "Hey, coach, I think this is a great time for this play," I would have honestly let him go for it. Now, we threw an interception, and I still stand by that. Again, it probably, admittedly, wasn't the best call I could have made, but I felt like, given the circumstance and the scenario, it was at least a reasonable chance.
Yeah.
What hurt us really on the play, all week in practice, the aiming point was for Charlie to run the ball essentially outside of the nearest slot receiver to sell it and then throw it. We had Blake wide open. Charlie pulled up too soon, and the safety who was coming down saw him stop, and the safety stopped and got in the window and picked the ball off. So, again, we didn't execute it, which a lot of that's my fault because we didn't practice it. Again, we did practice it, but we didn't put time into it. And again, that's just my philosophy. I'm not a big trick play person, but yeah, we end the half on really kind of a down note. Honestly, we kind of imploded on ourselves the last drive, and then we end up with a trick play interception. They take a knee. We go into the half up. We're up 7-6, and in a game like that, that's great, but certainly not the finish that we were looking for a lot of different reasons. And so now the challenge is we get into the half. We've really played pretty solid football overall, considering that we're honestly pretty outmatched size and talent and depth-wise. Now it becomes, okay, we need to get these kids in and make adjustments. Again, like I said, we try to talk to the kids as much as we can on the sidelines in between things, but we don't two platoons. So most of our kids go right back out there. There's five or maybe six kids that, a coach might only see if they come to the sideline real quickly to get a drink of water between a change of possession. And we've got to feed them, information in that really short window there. So halftime is absolutely enormous for us because we can really sit down, start talking about the adjustments that need to be made. Obviously, I've self-corrected the ISO thing. You didn't see it appear after that third call. So I've self-corrected that as a coordinator and gotten away from it. That way the kids don't have to deal with it. We've kind of got a 1st and 10. As a matter of fact, we're going to walk in on the board on offense here in a minute. We're going to draw up that double spike here and make sure we cover that and have it blocked up properly, because it seems to be their go-to on 1st and 10 scenarios or a running scenario. And really just kind of get the kids settled back in and calm down and ready to play a good half of football. So, yeah, I mean, all in all, a really good first half from our kids, and really proud of how hard and how well they've played to this point in a really tough environment. And there's got to be, I don't know, probably about 6,000 or so people at this game at least, maybe even more than that. So it was a lot more hostile than we thought, and a lot louder than we thought, and we're playing with pretty good poise and toughness. So, yeah, I guess we'll talk about the halftime stuff and the second half stuff here later.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and stop down here. This actually has gone quite a bit longer than we thought it was going to.
I told you it'd be long.
Yeah, so we'll stop down here and we'll come back and we'll do another episode. We'll talk kind of about the conversations we had at halftime, and then we'll talk about how we put that into effect in the second half in the next episode. So really thought this went pretty well, Coach. Hope the folks at home enjoy it, and hope everybody will look out for some future episodes of this to come over the coming weeks.
Yeah, give us your feedback. Give us your thoughts.
All right. Well, we'll stop down here and hope you guys enjoyed it.